Hey there everyone, Sal here. I'm glad to get back into the swing of things, and I've got something really cool to showcase today. So you can see that I have a couple of diamond shapes here, with the herons all being placed in the middle. Well, they have some new skills, and these are going to be their Satori sign equivalent skills. So you can unlock these at level 30. Maybe earlier if I manage to find those levels and can adjust the code, but currently they're slated for level 30. We're already familiar with morale shifts that when at 30 gauge, Leanne transforms and performs a Galder to aid the adjacent allies or enemies. It allows the user to perform Bliss and Sorrow on all adjacent allies or enemies, depending on, of course, which type. Now, this already is very nice. It tries to play into Vigor not being the go-to dance for like 99% of situations, but I want to do something more. Quickly, however, I'll also go to, of course, Raphael with Hymn Shift, where at 30 gauge he transforms, performs a Galder, and then heals allies for 5, 10, or 20 based on level. This is probably like level 15, level 20, level 30, something like that. Not sure what the levels are going to be. And he also has the Galder of Vitality. And lastly, we have Valor Shift, when at 30 gauge, unit transforms and gives 10, 20, or 30 gauge based on level. And it allows the user to perform the Valor Galder on 4 adjacent units when they transform. So it's kind of, at the end of turn, you transform and you give these bonuses out. However, I also want to make it so that you actually want to press Bliss or Sorrow or Recovery or Valor at other points during your turn. And that's where these come in. They don't have descriptions yet, so MH Skill Courage. However, what these will do, and I'll show this in just a moment, is that whenever they Galder, with that specific Galder for Raisin it being Valor, for Raphael it being Recovery, and for Bliss it being the Bliss or Sorrow it being either of those two, depending of course on which units you're singing for, you also get a different effect. For the Galder of Courage, if you press Valor and you're in this diamond shape, as I'll show in just a moment, you bring all the allies to 30 gauge. Afterwards, however, they get refreshed. For Raphael, same thing. However, then it's with health. He presses Recovery and he's able to then heal all those allies. Afterwards, once his turn is finished, you have to do one action currently. I hope I can fix that in the code, but the idea is that afterwards, he also then sings and refreshes those units. And for Leanne, the final one being you bliss your allies, and not only do you refresh them, but I'm planning on also maybe giving her some kind of cooldown reduction effect so that you really have an incentive to bliss. So if you really need an Aether proc, or if you really need a Colossus hit or something like that, or maybe you want to put an enemy to sleep but your cooldown isn't there, then you can actually press Bliss and it also gives like minus cooldown to every single skill that's on a cooldown timer. For enemies, it could also bump up their cooldown by 2 or 3 points, so it takes longer for them to charge again. So, let's see this in action. We currently have Raisin here, and we have 10, 30, so it's not going to impact Curve Naga, 22 and 22 for the gauge. If we press Valor, you will see that he, of course, brings the Valor and brings the gauge to 30 for all of these units. 30, 30, 30, and 30. Sadly, it doesn't work yet. He's grayed out, and I have to do one extra action, so let me end the turn of Nialucci here. But you'll see the focus come into Raisin, and he actually refreshes every single unit that is at 30 gauge around him. This deactivates the skill, and you get it back next turn. This does mean that you can not just dance for units and then have them move again. You can also bring all your Lagoos to 30 gauge, and even if he stays in place, have them act again. So it's a Valor and Vigor in one. But you could also do something that, if you are able to set up this diamond shape, and they're already at 30, like you had a couple of units take grass and they're at 30 gauge. Let's say you dance right here, and these 4 spots are already occupied by units, and you refresh here with Raisin, you dance for these 4 units and you canto over here and you end your turn in between all these units that are at 30 gauge, then he would also refresh them because the conditions are still met. So if you really are good with positioning, you could actually dance 8 people on one turn. For Raphael, I currently can't show recovery because these units are already at full health. So just pretend that I'm pressing recovery here and I end my turn. I've healed all of them. And oh crap, that wasn't supposed to happen. I should have ended someone else's turn. So I've pressed recovery and now I am going to end my turn with Oscar, and I healed them and now they get danced again as well. Raphael, being the strongest with vigors, being able to do 4 vigors and refreshes untransformed or transformed, means that he is locked to a max of 4, unlike in the very niche situations Raisin would be, because he of course cannot canto away. So if he recovers all the health of the allies next to him, then those will be the 4 that get danced afterwards. And with Leanne, same thing. If I press Bliss here, all of these units are going to be in best biorhythm. But you can see that the Black Knight is in best biorhythm already. So I could also end my turn. And let's see, we end Edward's turn. You see that it still activates, but it'll only activate for the Black Knight. Or maybe it won't. Maybe there's still a small mistake in the code. However, if I Galder and then Bliss... Oh, I know what it is. I set the threshold for 90% of the biorhythm. So we'll see it happen in just a moment. Yeah, now it does work. He was in best biorhythm, but he was apparently not at like the very peak of his biorhythm curve. But since they're now all in best biorhythm, they do get the refresh. So for Leanne, that threshold might have to be lowered a little bit. See what I have to like make a good working value for that, but the idea is there. And this isn't coded yet, but I do plan on giving, for example, Eclipse now ticking down from 7 down to 6. And, well, there's no... And for Soul going from 2 down to 1, and Oliver also doesn't have any other skills with a cooldown. But that's something that actually allows you to bliss and have a positive effects aside from vigoring and refreshing allies. It also means that Leanne is also able to, for example, refresh Gatry and someone who would be standing here, and then Kanto, and if all of these would have high enough biorhythm, she could also technically refresh 6 people on one turn. And here, of course, as well, description not here, but it's grayed out, and if I end my turn, we will see after just a quick bit of skill works, and yeah, there we go. Those are all from a previous video. Boon is now working as well. We will see that Gauder of Heart isn't fixed yet, but Gauder of Vitality and Gauder of Courage are now once again active and you can use them. So it's a once per turn thing. This hopefully gives more incentive to do stuff with the other vigors, and hopefully I can adjust the scaling for the levels a little bit. I found the values, but it kept getting crashes, so I have to look into it a little bit more. But there's a tiny bit more that I can show regarding morale shift and him shift as well. You can see here, and I skipped over this at first, but it allows the user to perform Bliss and Sorrow Galders on 4 adjacent units. If we take a look at, and let's see, going to just load the save state, that's way easier. If I want to perform a Galder and I use Bliss, this is Leanne, who normally can only dance for 2 people. But here you can see, because she is like the morale shift Heron, she's actually able to Bliss all 4 of these units. And if I try to Valor, it targets only 1. In this case, it literally only targets 1, but she's not able to target with her normal 2-way vigor. And for the vigor itself, that one is the case. And for recovery as well, though everyone is full health, you won't be able to see it right now. It just makes it so that she is not that good in Lagoose management. She's mediocre or like middle of the pack for refreshing and healing. And her expertise lies in the biorhythm influence. Whereas with Raphael, if we Galder and we vigor, we get the 4-way vigor, like that's his big thing. If we Bliss, however, you can see that he only has the Leanne kind of vigor, where it's 2 units. And then Valor for him is going to be 1, something like that. Maybe for Leanne it is the 2-way with Valor, and then recovery is 1. And lastly, we have Raisin. Still, he only has like the 1 vigor when he's untransformed. He does have the 4 vigor when he's transformed. If he blisses, it's also 1 target. This is also when he's transformed. And if he valors, then he gets the full 4 targets because of his valor shift. So all of the herons have strong points and weak points. Their normal vigor, their refresh, is the same as it was in vanilla. But then Bliss, Recovery, and the Biorhythm influencing ones, so Bliss, Recovery, Valor, and Recovery. Bliss, Sorrow, Valor, and Recovery. Christ, probably got to cut those out. Anyway, those 4 are different for each and every heron. So you can expect their vanilla workings for refreshing. Raphael, 4-way, 4-way, Leanne, 2-way, 2-way, and Raisin, 1 and 4. But then for Valor, Raisin is always going to be a 4-way Valor, untransformed or not. And Leanne for Bliss and Sorrow is always going to be a 4-way dance, 4-way Sorrow or Bliss. But her recovery is probably going to be 1 tile. So you have some differentiating effects between the herons, and I hope that really pushes their unique style of play. And with Bliss and Valor now all getting extra bonuses that allow you to use them and maybe want to do that as well as then be able to get that vigor if you can position it well, creates for some really interesting gameplay possibilities, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm of course going to have to shuffle a little bit with the level scaling and maybe the amount of valor or the amount of healing, etc, etc. But the idea is there. I want to make those other Galders be way more impactful than they are in the vanilla game, so I hope you'll enjoy. That's all for me now. I hope to get some more videos out soon. And yeah, the sandbox is coming along pretty well. It's been like 2 months of not being able to do anything, so I'm really glad to be able to work on Daybreak again. I hope to catch you in the next video, and as always, thank you to my patrons and channel members. And this has been Sal. Hope to see you soon.